Good morning, everybody. Excuse me. Wow, yesterday was a journey through time. Okay, if I wanted to be reminded what it was like for me to be in PMDD, full on cravings, general malaise, fatigue, and irritability and everything else, yesterday was a day where it reminded me of what it was like when I was suffering so bad. Because I remember like yesterday what it was like I was sleeping like yesterday evening, and I've been kind of on and off with feeling just fatigue and whatever else. Been drinking lots of coffee and everything else. And so I had just, like on Sunday, I had that interview with Worldwide Educators. Wasn't looking forward to it because I was feeling just like, ugh. But I knew I needed to get it done because I promised them. So no matter what I was feeling, whatever hormones that were out of whack, I was just going to do it. So I took a nap a few hours before the interview, took a nap a few hours like on Saturday, and then even last week, taking naps, excuse me, intermittently. So I knew that I'm dealing with something. And the fatigue and the hormones were like really out of whack. So yesterday was where it really came to a head. And I remember when I was younger and I was dealing with the PMDD, I would be eating like large amounts of pasta. I mean, like I would be seriously eating spaghetti like by the dozen, just in massive portions. I would be going out to eat, getting like the biggest portion of whatever it was that I was just fixated on. And it was all hormones, I know. It's like I would think about a certain food and then I'd have to go and get it. Like nothing would stop me. I would have to get that food and I would have to bring it home and I would eat it. I'd eat by myself and I wouldn't even eat it in front of people because the way I ate by myself, it was just like, I was a pig. So yesterday, I had pasta in the house. I had, was it jelly, and I had crackers. What else did I have? I had some kind of cream cheese dip with some vegetables, and I had broccoli, and what else? And it was and I think that was it. Yeah, but it was just like it was a constant eating yesterday. But the biggest thing that I ate was the pasta, which normally I can only eat a little bit of pasta. I'd have like maybe a few bites. No, I had like half of a box of this penne pasta, and I had a little bit of sauce, and I ate every bit of it, and it tasted so good. Like seriously, it tasted so good. And I'd had no coffee yesterday. So I got up at 9 a.m. yesterday. I was actually sleeping in. So I mean, I was tired. So I got up and like, I don't even feel like making coffee. I didn't feel like doing shit yesterday. And then my husband's like, you got to do all these things, get this stuff done for this and da da da. I'm like, oh man, of all days that my husband, that's why, Mondays was so difficult for me a couple of years ago because it was always Monday that it would hit me so hard. And it was because of the weekend where I would be still, dealing with the PMDD even prior. And then, Monday is just another day that comes around, but it's like PMDD never really discriminated against. So it was always like Monday I had the hardest time. And it always got me in a little bit of trouble because people were like, what the hell are you taking Monday off? Why is there, what did you partying every weekend? I'm like, no, I mean, I actually sleep like the whole weekend, or my sleep patterns be so off that I'd be like sleeping all day and then up all night. But now I'm just sleeping all day and almost all night. Not all day, but a few hours in a day. But yeah, so yesterday it was like, oh, I just felt like I just was so fatigued, so tired. It was crazy. And to where I didn't even want to, be awake enough to make coffee, even to get the things I need to get done. So yeah, that was a trip. And I knew what it was. And I was calling some of my friends because they were asking me a question about something, and I get on the phone with them like, okay, all right, I'm not gonna be on the phone with you too long because I know I'm feeling hormonal and I'm going to be a little bit short tempered on this. Not that it's their fault because they're trying to figure out what to do with the situation. I'm like, here, you do this, 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 and this. And then I'm just done with that. So even through all of that yuckiness, I'm still able to pick through people's bullshit, even online. And so it's like, I know I'm going through a major healing symptom. I know what it is. My PMDD finally is getting like dealt with, or one aspect of it, because PMDD is a conglomeration of different types of mutations that manifest into a behavior. So, I've been on and off dealing with, I mean, I haven't had the mental fog, the brain fog in a while. And I remember feeling that mental clarity, I think about from October I started the protocol in 2016. I think in March is when I felt like a sigh of relief because I was sitting in my chair and look out the window going like, wow, I feel really relaxed. I feel really trippy. This is so weird. It was like just a sigh, just a release of whatever, and it was a trip. So I knew that things were getting taken care of. But then, of course, since March of 2017 was then just the string of healing symptoms that I knew I had to deal with, as well as everything else in the world. But yeah, so yesterday was definitely a reminder of what it was like to be suffering mentally and physically from major hormonal fluctuations. And now that I recognize it, I know there's nothing was wrong with me per se. It's just that, when you do go through a healing symptom, whatever it is, when you guys are going through your stuff, nothing is wrong with you. If you have to go and drink coffee, if you have to do whatever it is you have to do, eat that donut if you must, but drink a shit ton of juice. I drank a lot of my juice last night and yesterday. I didn't do waterfalls, but I've been pooping every day. And it's always my poop is, and then yesterday too, I had a stomach ache where I really had to poop. So it was a trip that, my stomach and my body was telling me, I got to get rid of this shit. And not that it made me sick, but I think it was, well, yeah, actually, because I did have a lot of constipation issues too when I was dealing with PMDD. So I think that there was a lot of reminders of what I dealt with back then that happened yesterday, because I don't normally have stomach aches to where I don't have to go and poop. But yesterday it was just it was all of my symptoms that happened in one day. But no, still no period, just so you guys know. I mean, it's been since December 8th and January 26th, we've been 49 days. So you do the math. So it's been over 50 days now since my last period. So that's a trip. And I did go through, hot flashes a few weeks ago and all of that. So, yesterday was definitely a major reminder. But I was still seeing through the bullshit. I was still seeing through people's stuff. And that's good, because it means that you can still be healing. And, if you need to eat the bad foods, if you have to do whatever it is you got to do to get through, do what you got to do. As long as it's legal. If it's not legal, then don't do it. Okay. But if it's legal and you have to feed into whatever hormone is prominent at the time because of a fluctuation, do what you have to do. Don't suffer. Okay, don't intellectualize. The thing with the coffee, I am drinking coffee this morning, but it tastes so good. And I got to get some stuff done today, but I didn't wake up and go, okay, I got to get stuff done. I got to do this. And I'm forcing myself. No, I actually shot up this morning like it was nothing. And okay, time to meet the day. And, I like a cup of coffee, and I didn't have any headaches. Usually when I get off of coffee after drinking coffee for weeks and weeks and weeks, of course, back in the Matrix, way back when, 1996, I was drinking 6 shots of espresso, and I just feel like my whole world just totally tilt. It was weird. And it was always just, drinking the espresso and the Starbucks at the same time. So when I would sleep in on a weekend, and I sleep until 9 o'clock, and I'm usually up by 6, not by the road by 7, to be at work by 8 or 9. If I didn't have my coffee or my espresso or anything at the same time, I would have massive headaches. I mean, they were so bad that I would have to even force myself to get up on the weekends at the same time so I wouldn't have a headache for the rest of the day. That's how bad it was back then, okay? Within the last 3 years, getting off and on coffee was a trip too. I mean, I would have bouts where I wouldn't want coffee, or I would quit it. I would intellectualize quitting coffee, and I'd have the worst withdrawals. I mean, they were so bad, and I would still deal with them. I would just go to bed and be like, oh my God, my head hurts so bad. But no, yesterday I did not even drink any coffee, and I've been having coffee for, every single day lately, the last, week or so, or 2 weeks, since dealing with this new healing, not new, but this healing symptom of fatigue and everything else. And yesterday I didn't have coffee, and no headache, no caffeine withdrawals, nothing. Okay, which tells me that I'm not addicted. Caffeine is not, I'm not addicted. I don't have any, addiction to it. I happen to like it. What it does, why I drink it and why it smells good to me, is because it's a hormone that is balancing me out. Because yeah, there are mycotoxins in there that create natural killer cells that will induce a hormone. But there's also minerals in the coffee too that my body is also taking in and absorbing and then releasing any excess so it doesn't over accumulate. And then I'm also drinking my juice. to then balance all that out, to bring in the nutrients and to energize the system to make sure that I am not absorbing too much, or I would say accumulating and not releasing too much of any kind of toxins that are in there, as well as in the air and anything else I'm exposed to. So that's kind of a trip. That's a real big trip. I mean, I was expecting, or usually when I would not drink coffee, let's say in the mornings I'm sleeping in, it would be around 8 or 9 o'clock at night where I would have a major headache, and then I would be just suffering for a few hours until they finally go to sleep. And nothing of the sort happened last night. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a trip going to bed early and then being, and then waking up relatively good. Like the last couple of days, I wake up wonderful, like at 6 in the morning, drink my coffee, and then I'd be just so tired around like 12 or 1, and I'd have to go take a nap. And when I would take a nap, it wouldn't be just like I'm just chilling and I fall asleep. No, I was like, okay, I have to take a nap. Like I would have to. I would like tell my husband, don't wake me up. This is serious. I have to nap. It's like, it's a nap attack. Literally, it's like Garfield nap attack. And I would then sleep for a couple hours and feel refreshed. And that's how I got through the interview the other day with Worldwide Educators, because I had to take a nap prior, or I would be just brain foggy all over the place. So I knew what was going on, and I kind of preemptively struck that nap attack before it got me during that interview. Because I'm really my best time knowing how I'm in this healing process is the mornings. And then if I am in a healing symptom or a healing process, especially with my melatonin and all my other hormones, towards the later afternoon, things get kind of weird. Like your 3 o'clock, when you guys are 3 o'clock and you're needing a pick me up, yeah, your hormones are going through some stuff. And so you're trying to find something to balance it out. Okay. So it's just taking notice of like every single food that you are attracted to, because even like sugar, you need sugar in your body. You do. It's not like you eradicate sugar, whether it's fruit sugar, dextrose, corn sugar, whatever sugar. Okay. Because you also need a certain amount of heavy metals. So it's not like I'm going after and eating, I don't know, like aspartame or mercury or anything of the sort like that. Even though it is a heavy metal that my body does need per se, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to be taking it and then, okay, sorry, I was looking to say something. Taking it and then thinking that it's what I'm going to do to keep the balance. No, because I get all the minerals and the trace minerals, the excess or whatever, the heavy metals in the cabbage and the kale, as well as the environment. So, I'm not playing that game, but your body does need sugar. And when you take in too much sugar, it then has you produce all these hormones like insulin to then offset it. But then if you keep taking so much sugar, it then depletes and it makes your hormones malfunction. And that's why people, have diabetes, to where they don't have enough insulin to counter the sugar, and then your candida is just going crazy, right? That's why people who are diabetic are also full of candida, because the candida is being fed all the sugar as well, and your hormones are being shut down, and people getting their organs taken out because a hormone is being produced, like their adrenals. I mean, you need adrenaline, but somehow people are getting their adrenals taken out. They're getting their thyroid taken out. They're getting their pancreas taken out. Why? Because they're not balancing their hormones out correctly. The foods that they eat and the mutations that they have is causing them to have a hormonal imbalance, which is causing then cancer, disease, and chronic illness. And so what does the industry do? Instead of saying, hey, we need strategic nutrition, oh no, they start just cutting out your organs, and now you have a deficiency. And now you're going to be on hormone therapy, which then of course is going to add to your death trajectory, which then leads me into this whole thing with the cures. Why is the FDA the only people, or biotech, the only people that can actually have a cure? Because cures are temporary. Why are they temporary? Because they're taking your biochemistry. They're taking the hormones that you have. How do they induce the hormones? They put a poison in your body. They are the ones that will go and figure out the poisons in your body to then figure out dosages, to then create hormones, to then lower your cancer numbers. Because that's what they're doing. They're highlighting and promoting and propagating cancer as this thing, right? Which, yes, of course it is. It's probably the fastest thing, the fastest death in the world is when you're stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 cancer. It means that if you don't get it attacked and dealt with, then yes, you will die almost immediately. So what do? They figure out the different poisons. They figure out, well, for us to make this hormone, because they can't just take a hormone out of your body, it has to be created. But how does it get triggered? How do hormones get created? It gets created by pathogens, by antibodies. Okay, so it means they got to figure out how to make a poison. But, you can't go and figure out how to make a poison. People try out there in the drug world, in the illicit drug world. They go and try to cut the different drugs with all of their, the cleansers under their kitchen sink. And that's why the FDA exists, because they're the ones that know how to manage poisons. So that way they don't totally decimate the population with some drug. And they have to go and do tests. Because if you have so many accumulation of natural killer cells or antibodies, and then you take a poison on top of that, some people will die from the cure. You know why? Because you're now tipping your body over the edge. If you are 5 antibodies away from dying and you get some cure, whether in the industry or on the street, guess who's going to die? You, because you are 5 antibodies away from dying, because antibodies, overaccumulation of antibodies causes the aging process. It causes the shutdown of your body because there's certain weaknesses in your body, like mutations, that have hit your vital organs. And it was only a matter of time before that cure, whether it's cannabis, chemotherapy, or some detox in the holistic allopathic world, that's going to induce another more antibodies. You get a vaccine. That's why they actually don't let us know if you get a vaccine, because vaccines create antibodies. No different than when you put your kid in a measles party. It creates antibodies. So now you've mutated more of your body, and you're creating natural killer cells, which, in turn create hormones. And yes, you get a cancer test to check your numbers. Yeah, your cancer numbers are going to be down, but guess what? Your natural killer cells are going to be high, and then your hormones are going to be high. But no one focuses on the antibodies because no one has really understood the severity of accumulating too many antibodies over time, whether it's T cells, lymphocytes, natural killer cells. All of them, yes, have specific purposes, yes, but it's still going down that death trajectory, and they induce hormones. So if you are on hormone replacement therapy, regardless of whether it's a pill, powder, supplement, or something in the prescription market, you are on a death trajectory. So that's why cures are only meant for the FDA and for biotech, because they're actually poison. But some people want to take shortcuts because they don't know any better. The industry doesn't know any better. They have never really took the information that we have created with Jilly Juice. And I'm not saying just me, because I took all of you guys in your feedback to basically help me out to make the connections. So they haven't figured out the strategy of using salt, the pink Himalayan salt, with the trace minerals, with the lacto fermentation, with the right vegetable, with the right water, which is basically, most palatable water. And then understand lactobacillus, not just, probiotics is being used in general. They're saying, oh yeah, kefir and kombucha and apple cider vinegar and alcohol. And you can have probiotics, you can have lactobacillus be paired with the wrong things. No different than saying, oh yeah, chili peppers, hot chili peppers have a lot of vitamin C. But those negative elements, those poisons in red hot chili peppers, are going to outweigh the benefits of that vitamin C. The negative is going to outweigh the positive. So it doesn't matter. There's always some, redeeming quality, even, with any poison as well as with a psychopath. But the actual predominant quality is going to kill you and do other things to you. But that's what the industry focuses on, only like what would be a somewhat of a redeeming quality, but they don't focus at the fact that cayenne pepper and turmeric and honey are all antibiotic, which induces antibodies, which then creates an overabundance. Now, the reason why people are living, or are not dying right away is because it takes time for those antibodies to build up. Now, someone that does occasionally partake in things that have a lot of antibody-inducing type agents, well, they have a good diet like Jilly Juice. So they're able to keep those antibodies at bay. And then also, too, what you bring to the table. If you're in hospice and you're trying to induce antibodies, and you're taking in the wrong foods and all of that, yeah, you're going to die. But that's because your battery clock is like 99% battery dead. So it doesn't matter what it is that you do if you're not rebuilding actively and going through the pain. So when somebody is young, like they're a baby or they're a toddler, and they're getting a certain amount of vaccines, and maybe they don't bring a lot of mutations to the table. Yes, they have mutations because their mother passed on that natural immunity to the child. They'll be able to survive some of the vaccines. They won't die right off the bat, but yeah, they'll be mutated. Yeah, they're going to have some kind of disease or some kind of like vaccine injury that the industry doesn't want to acknowledge, but they're not going to die. So that's why vaccines aren't inherently dangerous. It's rather of what it is you bring to the table. So if you're bringing to the table major amounts of mutations, then yeah, you're going to sustain another mutation, which could potentially put any baby or any person over the edge. Now, you know, if you guys are smart out there that don't believe in vaccines or do or whatever, go get a titer test. Go figure out what your baby is tested positive for. Because if you're a mother who has already had vaccines or your mother's had vaccines, chances are you pass that natural immunity on to the kid. Immunity is mutations. That's what immunity is. It's antibodies. We don't need antibodies. The reason why we have the antibodies, you know, the reason why the immunity has been mainstreamed is because we have people that are exposed to negative elements in a very small enclosed space, such as coal miners, such as people that work in some of these, you know, I don't know, industries that have a lot of conglomeration of like either radiation, asbestos, something else. And that in turn turns into a disease like tuberculosis or something else, which is then highly contagious. The thing with the measles, where the hell would you get the measles from some industrial environment? That right there, I don't even know where the hell the measles came from. That had to have been introduced. So any of these diseases that is because like radiation, you're exposed to radiation, it does do things like a heart, but see, all of these mutations aren't contagious. So if you were exposed to a mass amount of radiation and you pass along deformities and mutations to your kid, that's not contagious. Now that kid, yeah, has to deal with that, you know, developmental issue and that mutation and that handicap, but it's not like it's catching. So this whole thing with the vaccines is that they, for some reason, somebody wants to mutate the public. There's no reason to introduce respiratory illnesses or contagious diseases to the public. Now, as far as the tuberculosis from a coal miner's, you know, situation, well, okay, I get that, but then, you know, that tuberculosis would just stay within that encampment or that family. But then if the family has a lot of reach in the community and people are coming over, well, I mean, you'll be contagious for a minute. So if you are contagious, then you just stay at home. But then it won't reach as far as Africa. It'd stay right in that area, you know, unless of course there's somebody in that coal miner's family that is like highly active and it's always hanging out with a coal miner person that's always getting sick. But once you actually get sick from the coal and you develop tuberculosis, but then you fight it off, now you have the antibody, and, you know, and maybe you don't even pass it on to somebody else. So it stops there. But why they keep reintroducing these crazy diseases into the population, you know, I'm thinking it's because of the fear and they can't control people. And maybe there are mad scientists that are releasing things that they have to, you know, keep a handle on. And so if they vaccinate you, at least, you know, they give you some kind of antibody to sort of fight it off if your immune system's already messed up. But if your immune system's already messed up, no matter how you get exposed to it, whether it's in a vaccine or in the population, you're still going to sustain whatever level severity of that initial mutation, which is inflammation, the buildup of the natural killer cells. And eventually, once you build up those natural killer cells, those antibodies, you're not going to be contagious. You'll just suffer the mutation. But now the difference is can you repair from that mutation? So whether or not you've been exposed by a vaccine or in the general population, the difference of your life and the quality of your life is whether or not you repair the damage. So that's why don't worry about the chemtrails. That's why don't worry about the vaccines. And don't purposely expose your kid to the measles. But go get a titer test. So if you're a mom that says, I don't want to get my kid the vaccine because there are backdoor triggers, great. The next thing is do not go put him in a measles party because that's the worst thing you can do. Go get a titer test. Figure out if they're asking that you need to have the measles, the mumps, and the rubella and something else, chicken pox or whatever. go get a titer test and test for all that, because chances are you already have the antibody, you pass it along to your kid, and everybody's happy. But people don't understand the power of titer tests and what they actually mean, and they don't really know about it until the green vaccine. And I'm seeing on these naturopathic sites like, oh yeah, these vaccines aren't vegan, they aren't vegetarian. And I'm like, I'm looking through one, like, I see right through this bullshit here. They're now purposely positioning vegan, vegetarian vaccines versus carnivore, carnivore type vaccines. Oh yeah, there's aborted fetus cells, egg proteins, this and that. And then that's how they're then positioning the green vaccine, which will still give you antibodies. It'll still tax your system. It'll still cause mutations. Oh, but no, it's all about marketing. So every single thing in the allopathic holistic, whether it's a new drug being created in Israel to some naturopathics concoction of turmeric and honey and garlic and apple cider vinegar, all of those things are poisons. On some level, they create natural killer cells, which then in turn create hormones, which has an anesthetizing effect or adrenaline effect or whatever effect that has you then see your symptoms disappear temporarily. Or if you are a cancer patient who has all these numbers that they want to lessen, oh, they'll just take a poison like chemotherapy or cannabis, induce natural killer cells. So yeah, you may see tumors disappear, but you don't realize just because you disappeared cancer, you disappeared tumors, you disappeared the numbers, and your numbers are less, you are now making the numbers of natural killer cells more overabundant. Oh, but then you got to bring the natural killer cells down. Now you got to bring in the hormones. Well, the hormones come in and kind of keep that at bay, but now you have a hormonal imbalance. Look at Rick Simpson. I mean, right there, case in point, aging is because of the overabundance of not only natural killer cells that cause aging, but now you have a hormonal imbalance. Look at these people who are dealing with autoimmunity or dealing with some kind of glaucoma or something else, and they're taking all of these cannabis type candies, or they're smoking it or vaping it or doing something managing their disease, and they are rapidly aging, but hey, they feel great. Yeah, okay. The real key thing to healing is facing the demons, facing the pain, repairing the damage, because no matter what, you're going to be exposed to conglomeration of elements or pathogens that were introduced through no fault of your own. And you're not actively going in and taking all of these pathogens, but you're going to be surrounded by them. There are going to be new diseases out there. And then you're going to figure out, okay, well, anytime that you get sick, regardless, anytime you get sick, it's a new pathogen that was introduced to your environment and your body doesn't recognize. And it will go into inflammation. Natural killer cells will get produced. It will go after that bacteria, kill it, but it also goes after good tissue too. So then you go and take jelly juice or some strategic nutrition that will allow possible immortality and repair the damage. I mean, just listening to this commercial about Keytruda, which is a type of an assistant to chemotherapy. They're saying, and it's a poison. They're saying, yeah, this Keytruda will create cells that will go after the pathogens, but they also will go after good tissue as well. And sometimes it could be deadly. They tell you on the commercials what these drugs do. No different than these, non-FDA regulated pills, powders, and supplements, or somebody playing with dandelion root and garlic, or somebody, playing with some other concoction of colloidal silver or something else. Every single thing in the allopathic holistic market is a freaking poison. It induces natural killer cells. But the pharmaceutical grade, it deals with the poisons in a much stronger form, and there's specific dosages, and they have to do tests to make sure that you don't have a mass amount of natural killer cells already that is going to then get taxed by these prescription drugs. And then, and then they figure, okay, well, if you have too many natural killer cells here, but then, what happens is when you have too many natural killer cells, it doesn't totally kill you right off the bat, but you'll start seeing side effects. You'll start seeing, and the side effects are glaucoma. Okay, you start seeing other parts of your body, decay and break down and all that. So But how is that different than jelly juice and the healing symptoms? Well, jelly juice, you're dealing with a different context. Yes, the symptoms may seem very similar, but now you have a different context. You're now not dealing with poisons, you're dealing with actual nutrition. Salt has never been a controlled substance. Salt has never been anything but what it is. It is the key to life. It's what's in our oceans. It is what's being used in the hospitals when you are dehydrated. They take those salt saline bags from B. Braun Magat and they pump the shit out of you with this to stabilize you when you are in some kind of dire straits. And then, when you go to the Dead Sea and people are going into these big, huge salt baths, okay, they have saltwater pools. So that ought to tell you that salt is the staff of life. And you have the nutrition in the cabbage and kale. There is no nutrition in prescription drugs. Okay. Yes, there's some nutrition in some of these, holistic supplement type. Well, not so, but like the holistic remedies, like they say garlic, or in some of the spices and the herbs. But the negative, the poisons are more powerful than some of the redeeming qualities. Because there's even in salt, there is the trace minerals. There's like mercury, there's arsenic, but you need trace minerals. If you look at the elemental composition of the human body, you need to have a certain amount of fluoride. You need to have a certain amount of arsenic, uranium, and all of that, but you don't need it in massive doses like you're getting in the allopathic holistic world when they're trying to detox you. Like bentonite clay was aluminum silicate. Zeolite is aluminum silicate. That's a major heavy metal that you only need trace amounts of, but you get that in the salt. Okay, so it's like, you're getting the right context, and you're adhering to the laws of your immune system. And then yes, you're going to feel healing symptoms because your body is now finally able to deal, because pain is healing. See, when a person gets glaucoma, they get a side effect from a drug from their thyroid medication because the body is trying to heal from those poisons, because you already have a weakness in your eyes, and then you take on prescription drugs that have side effects. It means that your eyes are under attack and the body is trying to heal, and it manifests into a named disease like glaucoma or blindness or tremors or something else. I mean, you look at the inserts of the vaccines, you look at the side effects of all the different drugs, that'll tell you what's going to be under attack if you want to manage your symptoms in this specific disease area. Okay, so the FDA has a place for people who don't fully understand their body and they can't go and experiment with everything under their sink. But people have. I took borax at one point. I did the diatomaceous earth. I did the bentonite clay. And those are not to eat, but people use it for that a detox of sorts. But what that does is it creates a lot of natural killer cells, and then you get hormones being created. And so, yeah, it gives you a period of relief. But then guess what? With any antibiotics such as that, the body adapts to it, and then you're back to square one. The body says, okay, we see this is a poison. We're now going to create antibodies against it, and then you're not going to have any more crazy reaction, whether it's a feeling of anesthetization or something else. And so now your body's back in pain, and you're looking for another cure, another detox to give you that upset of homeostasis. It's like chasing a dragon. No different than a meth addict or a cocaine person chasing that high. The first high is always the best, right? That's what they say. I never did it, but that's what I hear what chasing the dragon is. So that's what happens in the allopathic holistic market, is you're basically chasing the dragon until you pass away. So, the three things that kill people is an overabundance of candida, too many natural killer cells, and a hormonal imbalance. And they use those three things to play with all of your different diseases. And then your whole goal is to lower your cancer numbers, but it doesn't matter if your natural killer cells are being overabundant, but they're going to test for that too, because they don't want to kill you either. But then they'll throw hormones at you. And the hormones does put you on a death trajectory. It will age you, but it's not going to altogether completely destroy you. But it will over time, because you're sitting in your friends and family who are on these types of prescription drugs or detoxes, or they're vegan and vegetarian, not healing and sealing, and they're taking cannabis or some other type of, plant-based therapy and doing massage and whatever else, inducing, hormones and oxytocin and adrenaline and everything else. So yeah, the mental clarity last night came to me just, in the evening, and I'm just like, geez, and the people are still chasing after some cure. Run from every cure in the industry. Jilly juice is not a cure. I have to make this very clear. Jilly juice is not a cure. When you are regenerating cell structures that were not regenerated at the time that it was mutated, that's not a cure. That's just regenerating cells on a very deep cellular level. That's why the industry says nobody can say that it's a cure, because when you say something is a cure, it means it's a poison, and you're playing with poisons to then have an upset of homeostasis to then bring relief. That's the whole double-blind study. That's why Jilly Juice does not fall into any of those guidelines when it comes to cures or anything that they deal with in the allopathic holistic, because it's a completely different animal. And that's why the industry and people are wondering, what the fuck? They can't figure out what the hell I'm doing. I mean, that's the reason why the FBI didn't hold on to me, because I'm actually relatively stable. Yes, I have fluctuating hormones right now. So when I was talking about, on Facebook saying like, the FBI, if they really thought I was dangerous, they would have kept me, because they had my phone. When I walked into that office, and then they buzzed me, and 3 of them were right there. They took my phone, said, "Hey, we can't have the phone in the in the interview room." I'm like, fine. And they could have kept me in there. They really could have. I mean, I'm not saying that they would have, but they could have. I was actually at their disposal. I was at their behest. They could have said anything and done anything, and nobody would have known. Hey, Priscilla. But no, I mean, and they were grilling me too. But they figured out, just from what I was talking about with their questions, I answered their questions and told them the situation of why it is that this happened and this happened and this happened. And, I mean, as long as you're honest, 100% honest, and that you do own up to maybe mistakes that have been made to cause the ripple effect of backlash. Hey, nobody is perfect. We all make mistakes when you're in a growth process. So they figured out I'm probably the most stable relative to the general population. And I probably make sense. Will they admit it? Of course not, because, we have so many businesses and industries riding upon, ignoring this information or fighting against it. And that's okay. But it's not illegal to have a new thought process. I mean, the reason why this doesn't come out in academia or in the medical field is because they have a Hippocratic oath. They view pain as something bad. So that's why they don't try to induce pain and say, hey, you need to regenerate cells. You need to face the pain, because to the industry, that is doing a customer harm. So the Hippocratic oath in the context of Jilly Juice doesn't correlate. They're not aligned at all. So you would never see a nurse or a doctor or any holistic professional create something to where you got to face the pain and figure out how to manage the pain with certain things, but ultimately you don't want to ever be in pain again and still live indefinitely. So of course the industry is not going to come up with something like Jilly Juice. They have professional limitations. There is no way someone in the ADA, the AMA, or any of those specific clubs are going to think of something like this. They won't ever do that. So it's going to take someone that is not a professional to put it all together. Because, true revolutionary thought does not happen in a controlled system such as academia as well as biotech. True revolutionary thought does not happen within those very strict limitations. So it's going to take somebody, a lay person, who is not beholden to the club, to put it all together and figure it out. And thank God we have the internet. Thank God I learned how to read. Okay? Thank God I learned how to use the internet. Thank God I had all of you guys. Thank God for social media. Thank God for Facebook. No matter how much people want to rail against the government and Facebook, really, Facebook is a gift. And the reason people are railing against the government and Facebook is because they have a hormonal imbalance. They don't know their boundaries. And so, yeah, they're always going to be overstepping because they don't learn. Every time you get put in jail is because you keep violating the community standards. And they think it's like, oh yeah, I'm a revolutionary because I keep breaking the law. No, you're an idiot. Stop it. How do you be effective without being put in jail 24/7? Come on. Okay? Common sense and learning how to work within a system and change it at the same time. Being an outlaw doesn't work, obviously, because nothing is changing in your world. You're still spinning in the same bullshit. So stop breaking the law. Stop breaking community standards. Learn how to live in a world with different thought processes and still change people's minds and still change stuff. Okay? So anyways, all right, I'm going to go do my thing, but I wanted to just give you a heads up of just how my healing process is going, what I've been going through, some of the revelations that I have been making, and just do the diligence, deal with the pain, whatever it is, do what you have to do with some of the cures that are out there to manage the pain. And then your whole intention is to regenerate and reverse and then live indefinitely. I'm going to be 45 in a week or so. And I don't even feel like what 45 would have felt like a couple years ago. Now, if I wasn't doing the Jilly Juice, I would have been like, yeah, I feel 45. I feel like I'm 50. No, I feel like I'm 20. Okay? I feel like I'm 20. I don't feel like I'm almost 50. That's like halfway through the lifetime in the Matrix. And I don't even look like I'm 45. Well, somebody argue and say, oh yeah, she looks old. She looks horrible, which is fine. But I don't feel like a 45-year-old would feel like. Even the most fit 45-year-old. I don't have to work out. I don't have to go on these crazy diets. I don't have to do anything of the sort. I don't have to get any facials. I don't have to go get my nails done. I don't do anything. All I do is just keep my insides well balanced. So that way all the different hormones and the different systems different systems can work the way they're supposed to, regardless of my environment. I don't have to move to the Swiss Alps to get relief. I'm not worried. Thank you, Priscilla. I'm not worried about the 5G like all these people are worried about the 5G. No, I'm not worried about that at all. Because no matter what, you're going to be exposed to a conglomeration of elements, so you take in my juice relative to your toxin exposure. That's all. Your body is going to adapt. Once you get everything well balanced in your body, it will adapt to the environment. That's what's so amazing about the human body. It adapts. It adapts to the mutations. But it adapts for only so long, and if you're always violating the laws of your immune system, that's why you die. But if you're taking in the right strategic nutrition, your body's going to adapt to its environment, whether it's 5G, chemtrails, or cold, or hot, or whatever. Your body will adapt to the conditions. Just give it what it needs. Okay? That's all. Give it what it needs. And we have a path to adapting and living indefinitely. Okay, I'll talk to you later. JillyJuice.com, JILLYJUICE.com. Bye.